What's up, guys? Appreciate y'all being here. Gary, how you want to start this off?
You want an opening statement, or you just want to do questions?
Let's do questions.
Okay.
I'm sure we got a lot to talk about. So fire away.
Adam, shoot. Start it.
Jake, how do you think this summer could be different than last summer for you guys?
Well, for starters, we've played more 5-on-5 this summer already in what is a week and almost a half than we did all summer. So I think availability so far, Lord willing, continues has been an important difference for us. I thought that was impactful as we tried to implement system, both offensively and defensively, and build chemistry, quite honestly. So being able to play and compete and go out and execute the stuff we're working on has been a good change to get started with.
Go ahead.
What's your feelings on the House settlement being finalized and how all that impacts you and impacts this program?
Yeah, well, I think the encouraging thing about being at The Ohio State University is we're going to be on the cutting edge. And under Ross's leadership, feel real confident as to, once everything truly is settled, because I still feel like there's a lot of questions, but once everything's, truly settled, I think that's going to mean a great thing for our entire department, and certainly for our basketball program.
When you look back from last season and in the roster construction for this year, what was a priority for you?
Experience,
Yeah.
but it started with retention. Retention was how we wanted to build out this roster. The foundation, the core, however you want to put it, was retention. I think obviously the three guys, Bruce, John, and Devin, certainly highlight that, but also for us, the retention of guys like TaShawn, Colin, and Yvonne. Guys who are developing in our program was important too. Once we had those kind of pieces settled, we wanted to build out from there and complement those guys, because we know there's a foundation of what Bruce, Junior, and Devin can do, right? Like we know what they can do. And by all accounts of what we've seen so far, they're all going to continue to make a jump. As we tried to add to that, we felt like experience was important in the front court, increasing our size. Like we're going to be bigger, really at the 3, 4, and 5 positions. I feel like we're going to be bigger this year. That was important because rebounding was an issue for us last year. So we wanted to address that, but raise our collective basketball IQ. I think experience certainly plays a role in it, right? But those were things we were targeting, and I feel like we did really well with that.
Diving into those two, the first two front court transfers there, Brandon and Kristoff, what did you see in their games as you evaluated them in the transfer portal process to say that they would be ready to make this jump to Big Ten level basketball?
Yeah, well, I think both of those guys have played a lot of college basketball, and I get they didn't play a lot of Big Ten basketball, but they've both been well coached. You could see on film an understanding of basketball IQ that I think will help the transition from their level to this level. But Tilly's played high-level international basketball, which is a whole nother level, right? And that's going to be valuable. And I think Brandon and him both are really smart. You combine that basketball IQ with their skill level, being able certainly to make shots, but pass, make decisions, dribble, like that stuff, that combination, I think really is going to help that transition for them. And listen, we need them to be impactful, there's no question about it. But I don't think we need either of them to be the same player they were. We have this is going to be the best team that both of those guys have played on. It's not that they haven't played on good teams, but the best collection of talent that they've played on. And I think that they got to make an adjustment to that too. But the guys we have coming back got to make an adjustment to them, because they're going to be important pieces for us.
Sticking with the front court, just first off, Josh, any updates you can provide on his status and where he's at in his progression?
Yeah, no updates as far as the end game, but I think he's working really, really hard. We have an unbelievable team, and he's become very good friends with them, and I think everything's progressing well. So we'll get a better feel, I think, going into the fall of what a timeline looks like exactly, but there's been no indication of hiccups or anything so far.
If he's not ready to start the season, who are going to be some important people to step up in terms of front court depth and giving you guys that rebounding defensive presence off the bench?
Yeah, well, I think Yvonne's going to be really important, and Amari. I mean, both those guys, and both of them are capable, there's no question. We feel really confident in those two being able to step in and have an impact. I think Kristoff, Brandon, Devin's versatility, all of that's going to be important for us. But, feel really good on the way Yvonne has improved since the end of the season to now. And he's got a window now to take an even bigger jump. So as long as he keeps working, he will. And Amari, we're super excited about his upside. He's got a physicality to him that most freshmen don't have. Certainly there's a size component to that, but he's got the height, he's got the length, he's got the athleticism, and he plays with a force and physicality that's been impressive to see for such a young player.
I think you guys have done 9 incoming transfers in your 2 years now, which is more than you were doing previously. Is that just new coaching staff trying to build the team in your image, or is that kind of how you expect to handle the transfer portal for the foreseeable future?
Well, we want to be aggressive. I think as we continue to build out, NIL and identify what that looks for, it allows us to certainly be impactful in the portal. But for me, when I envision this roster being built out for years to come, it's going to start with retention. There's going to be an element of development. Those two things, have to exist for us. I think it's important. We'll also continue to recruit high-level freshmen, but maybe not every freshman can come in and have an impact right away, right? But we're certainly going to be aggressive in the portal to complement the pieces we have, and sometimes the complement needs to be a high impact player, and we want to be able to have the flexibility in the spring to maneuver. As you guys have probably seen and gotten frustrated with the length it's taken to iron out the roster, we want flexibility in the spring. Sometimes that's going to be utilized in the portal. We've obviously been aggressive in the international space as well this year, but I think flexibility is key, because whether it's guys going to the draft, changes you want to make within your roster during portal season, having that flexibility is really important.
You talked before about the importance of having the vets back. What did you get out of this vet camp specifically this year with this team?
The last couple of days are some of my favorite days of the year, and a lot of those guys, when I was here working for Thad, I was training those guys in the summer. We would be in the gym. We had between 8 and 12 guys a day. I'd be in the gym from start with Mike Conley, who wanted to work out early so he could go golfing, to then have the guys who wanted to sleep in a little bit longer and work out like we just were in there for, all morning and into the early afternoon. So I built a lot of great relationships. So there's an element for me personally, spending time with those guys and certainly following their careers that just, it's like nostalgic a little bit, right? The other side, obviously, for our program, it's a big deal. You guys know how much I care about this program and how much I care about the greater Ohio State Hoops family. And this is the best display of that. We certainly feel elements of that. We felt elements of that all year long. Guys coming into practice, talking to the team, sending messages to guys on the team. My communication with former players throughout the year was consistent. But this is kind of a culmination of that, right? You get to feel it and see it. And my favorite moments during these last couple of days are when I see D'Angelo Russell grab Bruce Thornton or John Mobley and put his arm around him and talk through, leadership, or Scooney Penn's around talking through ball screen stuff, and you got Greg Oden working with Devon. That one-on-one former player to current player interaction is my favorite part. And we had a ton of that the last couple of days. We had a ton of it on the court. We had some of it in the weight room. We had some of it, off the court at dinner. That part is my favorite. I'm so thankful for our former players, and quite honestly, how much they care and love this program and their investment in our current guys.
You added. Go ahead.
In terms of Gabe, oh, sorry, we're all jumping in. Gabe, what kind of impact can he have this year in terms of production, minutes, leadership, all those things?
Yeah, well, I think some of that's got to play out, right? Mm-hmm. But the one thing I know about Gabe is he's really tough. He knows the game at a high level, and his intangibles, that the way he can impact the game may not always show up, right, with stats. However, he also can produce. He can make shots. He knows how to read the game coming off ball screens and zoom actions, which we're going to be doing a lot of. So the biggest thing for me is I've recruited Gabe, right, first time around, and I think when he went to Portland, there was a comfortability that's helpful at that time of year because stuff happens so fast. That was helpful. I knew him, known his dad for a long time, but I've just always, even when I first saw him play, I think we might have been the first high major to offer him. And I certainly pushed for that, rather quick. But I've just always seen part of me in him. He's better than I was, but I've always seen a lot of who I was as a player in him, and that I like that. And I think it impacts winning. I think it's important. I think it's impactful. We felt like we needed to raise kind of our team internal leadership, and I think he certainly does that. I think Devin getting older and John getting older helps with that, but we needed to bring some outside voices in too to help with that and help Bruce do that. So he'll provide all of that stuff. I'm really excited. He's been great, what we've seen so far. And, but I think as far as, the specifics, that's got to play out over time.
TaShawn Chapman missing all last year, and now it looked like he was out there with no restrictions, no brace on, just free and clear. Just is there any trepidation on his point? Anything holding him back, or is he just going, taking it every day and trying to do as much as he can?
He didn't seem to have any yesterday when we were scrimmaging.
Okay.
He looked like, I think there's probably I'm sure for him some relief being out there playing in some 5-on-5 setting that's, as game-like as you can have this time of year, right? I think that part for him was really good. The speed of the game, like there will be an adjustment to get back used to that, the physicality, like that stuff you can't simulate right when you're out and injured. But I've been really impressed with just his commitment to working and getting better and getting ready for now what is our summer training sessions. And he's not behind, he's not, apprehensive. He's out there, he's in the mix, he's playing hard, he's being aggressive. So, for us, if you walked into the gym and you watched, you wouldn't see a guy out there and say like, man, he looks like a guy coming off injury. And I think that's a really good thing.
Matthew Gurio and
Do not ask me to validate that. Y'all don't do that to me today. No way.
Miles
I need more time. I need more time.
You added those two guys like back to back there that 1 week. Just in both cases, what was the thought, and what are you hoping when Matthew is able to get his visa situation, whatever, straightened out, that he can help you guys with, I suppose?
Yeah, so with Matthew, I think he provides like real positional size and perimeter versatility. For us, we felt like we needed to add more size on the perimeter, and he's got a unique, for being such a young player, he's got a unique blend of like real high level experience. And so he just turned 18 not that long ago, but yet he's also played against grown men, and so I'm really excited. But there's an unknown element there. He's not able to be out there with us like in every drill, being coached by us yet. He can be around. It's very, for all the obvious reasons, right? It's just complicated as to what he can and can't do. But I think it says a lot about him. He wanted to be here knowing that, and he wanted to be here to be around the guys and build that chemistry. Some of it's gonna be wait and see, Steve, I think. We felt adding positional size, he again has a high basketball IQ. He can dribble, pass, and shoot. He reads the game at a high level. He has a mature pace to his game that you don't see in a lot of young players. That was evident on film. But, we'll see. I think there's going to be an element of that. But I'm really excited about him. Who he is as a young man, we've been really impressed with, because it's hard. You make these decisions in a short amount of time. And I've never seen him play in person before we made that decision. But we were intentional about spending time on the phone together and getting to know each other more and more, and really studying his film, and getting opinions from people all over the world. And the consensus was he's got potential to be a really good player. And then the other guy you asked, sorry, my bad.
Miles Hero.
Yeah, so excited to have Miles here. That was a late addition as the roster was changing, right? And I think Miles and his family and I just know that this is a developmental year for him, and that's kind of our focus. Our focus is to give him, some space, and obviously it's great to have the resources we have here, but the focus is on, him helping our team, right? But him developing, and we'll see what that looks like at the end of the year and how that development, can happen. But He's been great since he's been here, and certainly has a great basketball pedigree in his family with his dad coaching, his brother playing. But he's here on his own, and we're excited to see how this year can be for him from a development standpoint.
Coach, you kind of touched on it earlier, but I feel like chemistry is a word that we used a lot last season, used a lot this season. When you look at, summer workouts last year and approaching it this year, how important is this time to build that? Because you do have a lot of time left before the year starts. So kind of how key is that at this point in the season?
Well, it's critical. And, I felt like we created a space where we could develop that chemistry off the court last year, but we weren't able to build upon it on the court because of our availability issues, essentially, right? So I feel like already we're ahead of where we were last summer on court chemistry. And listen, we're changing up some things. They're not wholesale changes, but we're adjusting some things offensively that chemistry is going to be important. Take out of this what you will. But in a scrimmage yesterday, we had 26 assists. Okay, now it's summer ball. Wasn't the best defense we'll see all year, right? No offense, pros. But I think in a short period of time, we've been able to really work on some things offensively, and it was great as a coach to see some carryover. I think the basketball IQ thing is going to be important to that, right? But for us, we're really intentional about who we invited in because as a program, we value chemistry. I think it impacts winning in a major way. So getting like-minded people here, guys who are ultra competitive like that, I wanted guys in here who are competitive. Boom, we have that, check that box. Then it was about, we got guys who they want to be pros. So there's like-minded guys in our locker room, but ultimately we're building, and that week's part of it, we're building a roster and a chemistry where Ohio State matters. That matters to them. We have a saying right now in our program, winning over everything. And they're reminded every time they work out of that. And so that's a mentality for us that our guys have bought into so far. It won't always be easy to keep that mentality right, we know that, but we're building a foundation for that. Chemistry's going to play a huge role.
Jay, how important was it to get guys, they're not the same player, but like Gabe, and to develop teams as under guard so that Bruce doesn't have to play a full game. He doesn't have to, he likes to have the ball in his hand, but if he needs to dish, he can have that confidence to do so.
Yeah, well, I think, as the season went on last year, we tried to move Bruce around in the half court, certainly because he was so efficient as a scorer, right? But it was a heavy load that we asked him to carry last year. And, being able to have guys create for him sometimes makes it easier for him and also made us harder to guard. So we feel like we have way more playmaking in general, which will be really helpful for us. There's going to be a lot more space on the court, which is something we tried to do going into last season, but as the season wore on, we weren't able to do it the level we wanted to. We're going to be able to play with more pace this year. We played faster than Ohio State's played in a long time. However, it wasn't at the level we'd like to get to. I think the collective basketball IQ will help with that. The space will help with that. So, listen, it's hard as a coach, right? Because you want Bruce out there every minute, all the time, and involved in everything. But there's a reality to it. And so I feel like this roster is more equipped to, have some more versatility, variability offensively, which will be important for us. And then guys being able to pray for him be able to pray for others, that should happen a little bit more.
When you talk about the need for size, it's not just height, but length and bulk, right? Going into the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It seems like things that you all really addressed besides maybe a height increase as well this year.
Yeah, I think we're taller, certainly as we play bigger, the 3, 4, and 5, but we are more physical. And some of that's sheer just size. Some of it's guys are like 3, 4 years older than maybe some other guys we had last year. I think that's part of it. And Coach Banks in the weight room is addressing that even further, starting out this summer. So, we felt like schematically we did some really good things defensively, but we weren't able to finish possessions well enough because we didn't rebound well enough. And there's multiple games you can go back to in key moments in the last 4 or 5 minutes of games where we didn't get a defensive rebound, and it cost us. It cost us in a major way. So we knew we had to address that. We felt like we were able to do that.
Winning over everything, is that new to this year, that slogan? Or is that, because I'm not sure I recall you saying that last year as like a team kind of mantra.
Yeah, it started at the very, very, very end of last year. And, we didn't, I think some of this is part of college sports, right? Our guys have so much coming at them, they have so much coming at them. And so it's hard to fight for that every single day. And I felt like whether it's, distractions, outside noise, like whatever, everything can mean, right? And we're constantly defining this, and they're helping us define this. But keeping winning first over your, once you get here and the season starts, like winning's more important than those other things. And our guys have really bought into that so far. Now we haven't divvied out minutes or shots yet or anything like that. That's when holding true to that becomes really, really important. But we're building all that out. Our guys have bought that in, but at the end of the season, it's kind of felt like we didn't have enough of that. And so we wanted to make sure that, we were leaning into that at the highest level going into this season. And listen, I think that's something that everybody's trying to figure out. It's kind of college sports right now. As this feels more professional, every year, it's part of it. And that's why I want our former players around, because our guys see and feel in a tangible way that Ohio State basketball is really, really important. And I think we got a lot of that in our locker room right now. So it's been good so far, but we'll keep building that and pouring into that as the summer goes on.
Yeah, Coach, going back to that week, what was some of the feedback you got from the vets on this team and just the state of the program in general?
Yeah, it's hard because it's June and you don't want to right? You don't want to I think, value a couple day period. But the feedback we got from our former players was that there's a vibe, there's an energy, there's like a joy, there's a toughness, a work ethic. Like D'Angelo Russell told me twice in the game, like, man, your guys are going hard. And that's important. Like, that matters to me. We want to be the hardest playing team, the toughest team out there. So for a guy who, and D'Angelo to say that, and I didn't ask him that, he said that. I think that made me really excited. And I think they felt, because our former players follow us, they felt even in, we've had, is this Gary, like our fourth workout maybe today? Fourth or fifth workout? They already saw a difference in some of the things we were trying to do, some of the changes we're trying to make. And for that to be executed in a short amount of time gets me really hopeful about how quickly this group can pick things up.
Jake, with Devin and him moving to the 3 more this year, you talked about the rebounding and want to play with more pace and how that'll help your size. What do you challenge him with this offseason? Remember last year you said you kind of got on him to get back to the things that really made him successful, which were a lot of stuff around the basket. Where does his game need to grow this offseason? What do you challenge him with so that he's ready to take on that kind of role in a way that you're going to need him to?
Yeah, he's got to be okay being uncomfortable this summer. And listen, he can do it. The one thing about Devin, he's got a really high basketball IQ. And at the end of the day, he's going to find a way to be productive. He's always done that in his entire career at every level. So that production's got to look a little different, but it can't be completely right. We can't completely go away from some of the things that makes him special. So yeah, we may still throw the ball to him in the long post, but it may be a different way for him to get there. He may be driving it from the perimeter to get there instead of him hanging around the basket and then cutting to get there. I was really impressed. He worked really hard at improving his three-point shooting. The last, 15, 16 games, you can fact check me on this, but he was mid-30s, I think, from 3. So significant improvement as to where he started the season, right? And he'll go up from there. There's no question on my mind. He has shot the ball really, really well. He's been training with Bruce. He's been training with some of our perimeter players all spring. We were intentional about that. So he's going to be in some different situations, but he can do it. And it's just a matter of him being confident in himself and being okay being uncomfortable for a little bit. Like, he doesn't have to be perfect at it yet. We got to build him up to where he can do it, but I'm very, very confident he can do it. In fact, I don't really have a whole lot of worry offensively. Defensively, it's going to be an adjustment for him. You know, he's been able to wrestle with guys inside most of his career. Now he's got to be able to be on the perimeter more, identify different type. It's a different type of coverage, right? It's a different type of action he's going to see. So he just needs reps. He needs experience because, again, he can see it. He's plenty athletic enough. As he learns to use his size and length well on the perimeter, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be able to do it. Good. Any more?
Thanks, Coach.
Oh, you guys were easy today.
It's day one.
Yeah, it's day one.